This edition of the Sixers.com Coaches Corner presented by Firstrust Bank. Joining us is Billy Lange. Billy, on Wednesday night, the Sixers a real hard-fought game in Indianapolis, 122-115 loss in overtime. Late in games, intensity picks up. What do you hope the team learns and takes away from that?
One of the things that we hope they learn is it's not just like the last plays. Those are the ones that everybody just dials in on. There were countless other plays that we could have maybe swung the momentum of the game even larger in our favor. We got stood up, at least from an offensive standpoint, most of the fourth quarter. We didn't have as many attempts at the rim as we had the first three quarters, so consequently our points in the paint weren't there, and we just were very lock-kneed, as we like to say. We just stood around, we were static, and then on defense, we were tentative with our calls. You know, when you want to yell something, you know it in your heart, like we're going to switch this, but the guy is just tentative calling, and you give Paul George a split second, and that's all he needs. So although we will focus on like last second plays and should we have driven or should we have taken that shot or should we have done this coverage, we will do that. The other thing we have to encourage our guys is when we get into the fourth quarter, look, everybody feels they want to win. It's not just the city, it's the players too, right? So how do we get them to be free? You know, how do we get them to put their anxiety to the side and just play with great courage and attack? And that's what we're going to lock in on these next 48 hours.
Sounded like one of the points of emphasis in Thursday's practice, at least, was communication, actually talking on the court. And you guys have some international players on the roster as well. How do you practice talking?
That's it. You just practice talking. They can't text or tweet during the game. They can't break out their iPhones and communicate that way. Look, part of it might just be a language barrier that these guys just have to get used to hearing and communicating. Part of it is the more experience they get with it, they'll be able to communicate with a lot more confidence that what they're saying is actually the right thing. But it still comes down, Brian, to be a great defensive team. Not only do you have to give great effort, but you have to communicate. And usually what happens when the communication is better, the effort enhances because now guys feel a lot more positive about their coverages. They feel a lot more energetic about knowing that they've got guys behind them to have their back. So that's why communication is still an important fundamental.
There was no Joel Embiid in Wednesday's game in Indy, but the Sixers got a really strong bench effort. You talk about guys like Rashawn Holmes, Hollis Thompson with 19, T.J. McConnell hit some quality minutes. How do you guys feel about the second unit on the team right now?
Yeah, I mean, we love their energy. You know, T.J. comes in, you immediately have a guy that wants to push the pace and is willing to climb into a ball handler and set a tempo on the defensive end. Rashawn is just an animal. You know, he goes after every block shot. He's running the floor. He's become a much better screen setter and roller to the rim. And then Nick and Hollis, they do have shot-making ability. So if they're starting to get on and clicking, you know, it has a chance to be a real potent second team for us. So these guys, as you see every day, you guys are here after practice, they put a lot of work in. That group realizes the responsibility they have to either come in and build on a lead or help us catch a lead up and build momentum. I thought those guys played great last night.
Dario Saric down the stretch with some really big shots in the closing minutes. First double-double for him. 22 years old, has never been in the NBA before this year. Do you see his physicality maybe being a little bit above what the average first-year player in this league might be?
Well, I think the thing for Dario that impresses me when we watch him is he initiates contact. So I don't know, is he that strong or it just doesn't matter? He hits you first, whether it's on a rebound or even on offense on a drive. He's trying to take up slack and hit the body before the body can hit him. And that probably comes from the fact that since he's been a teenager, he's played against older guys, and he might have realized quickly, I better start hitting people before they realize they can push me around. His second half last night was much more aggressive, particularly on the offensive end. He dropped his shoulder and he went to the rim. He caught it deep in the low post and he was willing to back people in. And because he's such a selfless player, him being aggressive offensively, this doesn't mean shots for him, it means shots for other people, and we saw that last night.
Only home and home on the Sixers schedule this season is versus Indy, so the game is Friday at the Center. How do you adjust? How does that change preparation given this distinct type of situation on the schedule?
Well, it is. It's actually a cool thing to have the team back-to-back when you've just played in a really close game and now you've got Joel coming in. So, you know, we worked today on some of the things that we could have done better defensively, not just in the last minute or not just on the last shot that Paul George hit in regulation, but from the first minute of the game. So we tightened some of that up. Tomorrow during our shoot-around, we'll talk about some things offensively that we can do to take advantage of some of their defensive schemes. But we just have to play almost the same game, a little bit longer, you know, a little bit better, a little bit more confidence with much more communication, and then add a pretty important piece in Joel Embiid.
Great insight, as always, from assistant coach Billy Lange. The Sixers and the Pacers round 2 at the Center, 7 o'clock Friday night.